But besides, can I just start if there is no hands? You mentioned something about being realistic, managing time years ahead, funding strategy, personal development plan. Don't you think that it should start with the person herself knowing where they want to go? Because some of us are just there, but they just want to apply, but they don't know where they are going actually.
Yep, yep, yep. That's very true. You know, when I started applying for grants, the way I would do it, I would have a generic proposal, generic statement. So it didn't matter who the grant funder was. I would just throw that and I would keep getting no's.
Mm.
Uh, in those generic applications, I did not know myself. I did not describe myself. I did not know where I wanted to go. So what I have found is that you need yourself to know, where do I want to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. So you need a personal development plan. You create a personal development plan. Then once you have that in your head, when you look for the next grant application, you're saying to yourself, this grant application will only take me 1 year forward. So when I'm writing to the grant funder, I let them know I'm applying for this, but I always say, this is my plan for your grant, but after your grant, this is my plan.
Mhm.
That's something I learned eventually, But at first, I would get a lot of no's because I didn't demonstrate that I knew myself. Yes, that's very, very, very important.
Yes.
Demonstrating that you know yourself also is good in that when you are competing, like I said, you are all on different playing fields. So if the funder doesn't know what you want from them, how you can benefit from them, they don't know how to help you. So if
Mhm.
you apply to the funder and you say, I would like to learn, I want to go to Germany to learn this technique, they can say, can we fund this? Can we afford this? Easily, they can say yes or no. But if you are not clear what you want from them, you don't know yourself what you want, yeah, you can't get the grants.
Yeah, thank you. I think we fail a lot who didn't know that we should do storytelling and share our story inside. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's also related maybe in our culture that we don't learn how to share who we are. Maybe also women, we don't like to share our story. But
Mhm.
actually, they need to know you as a person and also understand where you are going and see if they can help you go there.
Yeah,
If they don't resonate with you, they won't help you. So they won't fund you because they don't understand how they can help you achieve it.
yeah.
Okay. Uh, do we have other question? I've seen something in the chat. Can you advise which are the best platform for networking with fellow researcher like author head? This is Beth. I can't say the name. Nyabadza. I'm sorry if I don't say it right.
Mhm. So he's asking about how to form networks, and I think he has mentioned a particular platform or the author aid. So this
Mhm.
will depend on which field you are from. If you are, say, from academia, there may be groups where academics gather. So I would start with LinkedIn to just look for people who are in my field and start writing to them. And that way you can form a network. If you know that author aid has got people from your field, you can, if it's possible to click on a person and find all their details, you can start from there. Someone mentioned when you're reading a paper and you see the people have been funded by a certain funder and you're interested in that funder, there will always be correspondence addresses or email addresses or phone numbers. You can just write to them. Some will respond. Some will not, but some will respond. Nyabaza says he's in the medical sciences field. I didn't share about some of the funders that I know from the medical sciences, but if you can go onto the website for NIH, the National Institutes of Health, they'll always show what are the current calls. You can go onto the Wellcome Trust website. They will show you what calls are there and what people they funded. Both these will show you what people they funded. They will even put email addresses. You can reach out to those people and ask whatever you need to ask. You can also reach out to people in this group. I think there may be opportunity to chat, I think. You can start there, or you can start by anybody that you know in this group. That way that's how you build the network. Sometimes they'll say, no, I'm not the best person, but I can refer you to, and they refer you to the next person.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Danai. Adding to that, I think we used to have ResearchGate also. That is like a platform for just researcher and look for detail. Yeah, like LinkedIn and ResearchGate here are good start. Other people also use Archive, but it's not. I think it's just give you the name of the person and then you have to go and find the person somewhere else to discuss with the person. LinkedIn do that well, and ResearchGate also is possible.
We met on LinkedIn, by the way.
Charlie.
Two of us. Oh, yeah,
Actually,
LinkedIn.
yeah, LinkedIn is very popular now for everything. So, what do you think is the most important thing to focus on when trying to align a research proposal or research vision to what the fund are looking for?
All right. The most important person, the most important thing that you need to do when you're aligning your research proposal to the funder is to understand what the researcher, what the funder is looking for. The first thing that you must do is understand totally what the grant call is looking for. Then secondly, see whether you fit in. I try not to apply to a grant if I do not have a passion for what they are looking for. So first I understand the funder, then I see whether where I want to go aligns with this funder. So I don't try to align, but I must align from the onset. If I don't align, then I don't apply. I'll be wasting my time because even my writing, even my passion won't come out. It won't show that I align here very perfectly.
I see what you mean. So you already have your vision, you already know what you want to do, and then you look for the funder and you see if the funder has the same plan like you, and this kind of same vision, and then you apply so that you are
Yes.
sure that both are aligned. You don't do the
Yeah.
other way around, like the
No, I
funder
don't
is
do the other way around.
saying,
I don't
okay.
know if it's successful the other way around. I don't know. If anybody can share whether you can go to an area that you had not thought of, but because there is funding, you apply. I don't know how successful you can be.
I used to do that, but myself it was difficult to. Is once I've been aligned with myself, I try to look for opportunities that fit with my vision,
Yeah.
and I only apply to those. I don't apply to everything. Like it's getting me a lot of energy, and I don't do it anymore. But maybe some people have experience of applying, like you say, multiple field and it's changing like this. I don't know how to do that myself.
Well, at first it may be necessary for while you are finding yourself.
Yeah.
If you're an early researcher, early career, soon after PhD, say, you may think, maybe I want to stay in the same area that I was for my PhD. So you may start there, looking for small grants, travel fellowships, going to workshops, presenting. That's okay, because when you apply for the other new area, you can say that for my PhD, I did this. Soon after my PhD, I continued that work, but I want to move to something else now. And a
Oh,
funder will understand that.
yeah.
Yeah, the funder
Okay.
will understand that.
Okay. There is Kevin Makeche. He has a question, or she has a question. If we have a project that we want to submit to a call for grants, but do not have the necessary solid professional experience in terms of writing article, is it better to look for a person with the best skills to place as PI or of our proposal?
Yes. I gave examples of some funders. Some funders will fund you if you are an African PI, as long you have a mentor who is experienced. So you can say, I want to do this project, but I don't have the necessary professional experience for this particular area. Then you can say, but this person will mentor me. Then you'll get the grant. You may also be required by that funder to say, we don't fund you unless you are a core applicant, mainly because maybe they don't fund researchers in Africa, but they will fund them if they are core applicants to a funder in the UK. So you can work with the funder, with a researcher in the UK, they become the main person, the main PI, and you become the core applicant. But like I said, be careful that as a core applicant, you still have oversight of the direction of the project. When it comes to the actual writing, if you are not sure about how you should actually write for a grant, I would suggest starting with a small grant. If you want to develop the skills for writing, which is different from the skills for the actual project. If you want to develop skills for the actual writing, I would start with a small grant that I apply for myself and get responses from the funder to say, you should have done this, you should have done that. Or sometimes you may even get the grant. And once you have the grant, they start training you on how to write for grants. Yeah, some funders will give you the training. But I don't know what you are thinking. If you're saying you want to have someone with experience in writing, are you going to give them the proposal, then they write and they put their name as the PI? You may lose that grant. Do you
Yeah,
think someone
actually,
should write a grant and then give it to you?
that's what that's what I think. That's what the person is saying. That she wrote the grant and then put someone else's name to make sure that they win the grant or something like that.
Mm. That person must be very honest, because some will then start to do what they want with your money because it's in their name. Yeah, it's very tricky.
And then you
I
don't
would
win it.
rather do
Yeah.
it myself,
Mm.
I think.
Actually, I prefer also because you don't have it somewhere else in your CV that you won that grant. So if you put someone
Mhm. Yeah.
and that is awarded, so what are you going to do? You are going to do the research and then what?
Mhm.
So you don't have the recognition that goes with the grant because this is what people are looking for also, not just the money.
Mhm. Mm.
I didn't know that we had Vinny, that Vinny was the place.
Yes, I'm seeing it.
Yeah, she's handling the chat. Someone asked, will one get funding just by pitching an idea, or you should be having some evidence of some project you have done?
All right, I'll give you my experience with the RF grant that I got. With the RF grant that I got, I was going into a totally new area, into microbiome research. I had been doing pharmacology, pharmacogenomics work before that for my PhD. Then I did a course by the H3A Africa. And during that course, we were supposed to develop a small project proposal. And it was mainly a bioinformatics project proposal. So I come from a wet lab background. So obviously, before I go to the bioinformatics, I had to think of the data generation. So I came up with a project on microbiome because we'd been taught about that. Once I had the proposal, I thought this was more interesting than the pharmacology, which I'd already sort of exhausted in terms of my interest. I'd done that for my PhD. I'd written another paper after the PhD. So what I simply did was I wrote to a mentor who had been mentoring me to say, I'm thinking to do a project on microbiome. And she said, I've got someone who is doing microbiome work in Germany. Then my PhD student and I started talking to that other lady in Germany. She was willing to teach us, but she was not going to use her own resources. So I had to apply to RF. And when I did apply to RF, they were convinced because I had this mentor who was going to take me in, teach me how to collect my samples, teach me how to store my samples, how to extract my DNA, everything. So for 9 months, I was in that other lab with a grant that I got for microbiome work that I had no experience in, no paper in. So you can get the grant, especially those who are into capacity building, they will fund you. But you have to say from the onset, this is a new area. I've never done this. I'm going to be helped by someone. So that's how you pitch the idea. Without evidence of having done any project in that area, you can get the funding.
Thank you, Dr. Danai. What are some common mistakes you see researchers making that could be easily avoided?
Right. Not answering questions clearly or addressing what the funder wants to know. I hope that we have had the experience of funders who ask a lot of questions that we have to answer. So they may say things like, what is the focus of your research? This particular research that you are proposing. What is your long-term goal for your research career? So people just lose track of what was asked and they answer as, I don't know, they say something that the funder didn't ask. So the best way that I do it when I'm answering questions, I keep using the terms that they used in their question. That keeps me focused on answering the question. Not editing for use of language, not editing for clarity, not editing for consistency. So maybe you can do that by having someone else read your proposal. What are you trying to say? Even if the English is good, sometimes what you said at the top is different from what you are saying at the bottom. Your objectives are not matching what you said was the aim of your project or the title of your project. But because you are writing it, you may not see that. So have someone read. The last one, which is very simple, number of words. If they ask for 200 words and you write 201, you may lose the grant. If you write 50 words, you may also lose the grant because 50 words, when they're asking for 200, it means you have not said everything they want. So I normally go 200 to the dot. I write, it can be long, but I trim and see what must I say, what is not necessary, what is repetition until I get to the 200 words, 300 words, 500 words, whatever the words limit. Those are the simple three.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm laughing because the last one you mentioned about the number of count. If you write too much, you are out of the scope. If you want too low, you're also out of the scope. You have to be
Yes.
at least 80%.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because at some point I've submitted an application, I think 2 or 3 months ago. It was about the capacity bridging plan. It was a big application. It was a more than 500,000 applicant of funding.
Mhm.
That one, I was writing the funding part with the research team in UK. And
Mhm.
we saw the number of words. It was 650. We have never seen that much in terms of capacity building plan.
Yeah.
Even the person say, "Oh, you can feel that it's a lot, that they want to know every single thing." So we should rather think about clearly all everything in the application is going to
Yeah.
appear in the capacity building plan and write it that you can. She told me you can understand it by the number of words. It's 650 words. That's a lot,
Yeah.
and that's a capacity building plan. So they wanted you summarize everything you say in your application by how this align with the development of the researcher, the team member, everything.
Yeah.
And it was not easy. And then you know that you have to go over 300 and maybe 500 and 550.
Yeah. I
Very cool.
didn't know. I didn't know that if I go 50 when I am required to write 200, it's a disadvantage. I had to be told that by someone.
Okay, you see, actually, if you watch just one or two phases of out of 600, you know that you don't understand what you are doing.
Mhm.
Actually, so that's something that is really, really clear that what you say. And when
Yeah.
you say keep it simple,
Yeah.
reading instruction, understanding the person's need.
Yeah.
Do people have question? We are just sharing now. The presentation is finished, so we are just sharing. I'm asking question because you are not asking your own question. So
Mhm.
I just propose question like this. So feel free to open the mic if you want or share in the chat.
Hi, Luria. It's Vinny.
Yes, Winnie.
Hi,
Hi.
Benny.
Hi, Dr. Zhou. Amazing
Hi.
presentation. I just want to add also something to what have been discussed already. So, in the little experience that I have also with the NIH grant and application is that there are the first things like I think Dr. Danai already mentioned that you really need to understand the needs of the funders, right? And with with institution or with organization like NIH, they actually have like different institute, and different institute do research on different things.
Mhm.
So if you are maybe like on HIV or microbiome on malaria, you really have to dip into the whole NIH institute and look for making sure that you actually understand the needs of the funder. So which one is working on what, and then you make sure that you get all the detail, because one of the things that people usually fail to get grant is that people really don't align what they want as per the funding needs. Is very, very important. That's why sometimes people actually fail to get grant, because every grant that you apply for, there's always that part whereby you have to understand what the funders are funding for,
Yeah.
right? And making
Mhm.
sure that you writing as per their needs. I think 2 weeks ago when I gave my talk, I took the example of saying if I was working maybe for it on HIV during my PhD, and then I heard the HIV Research Trust Scholarship, and then I found that okay, this one they are really the funds on HIV. So on that already, I know that okay, if I want to apply for HIV Research Trust, I know that the fund for HIV, my research is on HIV, so I have already a positive aspect because I know the need of the funders, and I make sure that I align my application as per their needs. And then the second one maybe that I want to add also, we are very good at not keep it simple. I think one of the things that I'm also learning a lot from being at NIH, keep it simple. And the way I do that is that I always make sure that I present my work to a 8 years to 15 years old person, someone who's not even in science. You
Mhm.
just like okay, because the person doesn't really need to understand the science, but he has to understand what you are saying, right? I don't know if I make sense.
Yeah.
Like yes, and I promise you, I remember even during my PhD, before my PhD thesis, I presented my thesis to a 8 years old boy, 11, 15, and my parents and uncle, like the whole team was there. And then I made sure that they all kind of like understand, but not deeply the science, but the whole context that you have. So always making sure that you keep it simple. And the last thing that I want to say is like for things like Welcome Trust, NIH, that's why there's always one page before you even start developing your grant. There's always that summary page. The
Mhm.
summary page whereby it's all about your title, Make sure that your title is crispy, your title is simple, the title is understandable, the title is and one of the things that people also sometimes don't take attention to is the title. Your title also have to be showing what you want to do really. So it's very important to make sure that your title is really clear, simple, and someone can read your title and actually have like a very good understanding of what you want to do. And then so that if you learn how to do like one page of your title, your M's, like 2 or 3 M's in one sentence. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? In one, I want to understand blah blah blah. I want to assess blah blah blah. And then those small objectives. So if you can keep it simple that way, it also help you to now go to maybe the whole detail of stuff. Thank you. I don't want to talk too much. Just wanted to add this one.
Thank you, thank you. We could listen all night.
Yes, there's someone else, Dr. Sipilikelo.
Mhm.
I'm sorry if I don't say it correctly. This is from maybe South Africa or Zimbabwe. Is it? Dr.
Go ahead.
Sipilikelo.
It's Zimbabwe. It's Zimbabwe. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's Sipikelelo. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I got in late because of poor connectivity over the side, but I can say this is a very exciting presentation. I'm sorry I lost, and much of what I have to say is one, a question, and then the other one is a plea to say, can we kindly have a recording of this presentation? I'm quite new in this area, and when I look at grants, how can I go around the problem of not having the experience? Because I don't have the experience, and normally they're looking at somebody who has run a similar grant or something. How do I go about this problem? Thank you.
All right, Dr. Spigelelo, I'll start by just saying start small. Start small. So the best way to start is to apply for a small grant. I remember my very first grant was a travel grant to a workshop. I was so excited. It was a travel grant to Uganda. That was my first application that I got. It wasn't a grant for my work, but just to travel. But because there were essays that I wrote in order to answer the grant funder who was supporting my travel, I actually knew a lot more about myself and what I could bring on the table, because they were asking me, what do you want to do in the next 2 years? What do you want to do in the next 5 years? So yeah, start small. Then also find mentors. Find mentors who read your work, what you have written. Then maybe I could say thirdly, go to the site of this funder and try to see people in your area that they funded. What are they funding? What are these people doing? That will help you to craft your own application. But yeah, we have to start somewhere, and small is usually best. And it also helps you to keep it simple. If it's a small grant, it becomes very simple to write. But the idea itself should also be simple.
Thank you, Dr. Danai.
Thank you, Dr. Danai. And then perhaps I kindly ask again the recording of this presentation. Thank you.
Yes, you answered that one, Dr. CPK Lelo. Can I say the word now? Was just right. So yes, we are going to share the recording. If you have registered to the event to join it, then you have the recording and then in the slide. If you are registered to get inside, yes, we have the recording.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions.
I just wanted to come back to the title that Dr. Vinny mentioned, the title and the keep it simple, because this title can save you or can also kill you. So what you write in the title, it can be so shiny, so attractive, and so nicely written. But if the funder then go inside or the reviewer go inside, it doesn't see what you mentioned the title, then you are going to be rejected. So if you mention something really, really important and then you don't see it, it's also something that's going to kill you. And to keep it simple, Vinny said so nicely that she has even the courage to share it to people of 8 years. I've never had that courage yet, but someone, also a mentor of mine, told me for me to win it was the second hand for that one. She told me that you have to write it for, look at the person of 8 or 20, 12 years old. You have to break down your language to that level. If you don't break it down like this, you will never win. And the one I read there is too hard. Even for me who is scientific, I don't understand it. So imagine someone who doesn't understand your microbiology and background and so. So you have to break down everything that imagine that you are explaining it to a 8 years or 12 years kid. And once you do that once, normally you should be able to repeat it again and again and again. Because if you don't say it simply, that means you yourself you don't understand it.
Yep.
If you understand, you should be able to explain in simple terms. So that's all everything about what Vinny is saying. It's really important to make sure that you don't want to over emphasize or overestimate your application or showcase how talented you are. Like you mentioned, they don't want to know how talented you are in science. They want to know you and what you are planning to do, and how both align with them, their own vision, and how they can help you out also. And for Dr. Sipikele, you just have to start. Just start somewhere, anywhere. Start somewhere. When you start, you just find the momentum and you find collaborators. We find a way to go. We started from somewhere. We wanted money to do our work, so we just start with no one teaching us. That's why we are now doing an event to help people not spend 5 years of rejection. I don't know how many times I rejected. So you have to spend like 5 years of rejection and again every day.
Yeah.
And someone come for me, I can tell you, and then we want to help you also progress faster than us and avoid frustration. You will still fail, that's sure. Everyone is failing. And the funder yesterday I was listening to a webinar from a funding agency, NIHR UKAE, that you mentioned. They have a lot of million, but for the largest one, imagine they have 6 people in the world that are eligible. That is even for the most experienced researcher. For the younger one, there are 10 people offering. So you are going to fail. Whether you want it or not, you are going to fail. So that's life, and then you take it as a learning, and then you continue because next time you're actually taking the no and say next opportunity to look for your next for your yes, and just one yes can change your life actually.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you
Dr.
so
CP,
much. Thank
Dr.
you.
CP, I want to add also something. I want to add something to what Dr. Danai and Dr. Luria had said. So, because you are starting right, like Dr. Danai mentioned, I clearly mentioned, you also want to start also small because like she already said, the addition of small grants are very important for you. Either it's like conference, travel grant, research grant, any type of small grant, you can start from there. But the other thing that I want to add is that for any application that we try to do, there's always what we call a prerequisite requirement, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, so the requirement depend on what type of grant you will start, Dr. CP. So there are some that we require you to have maybe even 20 publication or 10 publication or 5 publication in a specific area. So always make sure that you read those prerequisites. So if you want to apply for a grant, maybe that asks for 20 publication you don't have, obviously you know that you won't qualify for this, right? There are certain that we require you, like maybe you want to make sure that you have already applied for and you have already gotten a grant maybe in your life. If you have that, that's good, right? Because you have an experience. If you don't have, that means you don't apply for that one, right? But there are also some grants that can actually say we don't need those prerequisites. We just want you to have a knowledge in a very specific area. Maybe if you're a doctor, like maybe a knowledge in a medical field or maybe in cancer or whatever. And if you are in that knowledge, obviously you know that you 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 already got the requirement for that, right? And then now what everyone has said, writing is a learning process. You always just start and making sure that you have people who can read your work, because at the beginning it's always difficult to do on your own. Anywhere, any step is always difficult. Making sure that you start writing, because you always start by starting. You write and then you make sure that others read. Some people that are close to you help you doing that, and you will definitely get there. It's a process, so no worry about that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Vinny.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think I'm encouraged now. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other question before we wrap up? While people are thinking, Dr. Danai, what do you think will be the next move in research? Like, what trends do you see in research funding, and how can research prepare themselves to stay competitive in the future?
Well, from a vantage point of someone who is in medical research, I could say I've seen a move towards multidisciplinary research. I've seen a move towards climate change and health. I've also seen a move towards inclusivity, gender sensitive research, gender sensitive policies in research institutions. Yeah, so I think if you can work around those areas, you may make headway when it comes to finding grants. I would also say maybe for some funders, they are interested in people who can push the envelope, going beyond what is already known. So they are interested in discovery, what they call discovery research, where maybe your results will not mean much today. Maybe they learned from the lady who did a lot of research on microRNA vaccines, messenger RNA vaccines rather, many years ago, and no one took it seriously. Now there are funders who say, we want to fund you for any research that is innovative, that is cutting edge, that pushes the envelope. We don't care whether the results are applicable, whether we can apply them immediately. So I think it opens the doors for almost all of us to do research.
Okay. Do you think AI can also be part of the game, like machine learning, research project, this kind of thing?
Oh, definitely. AI, definitely. My only worry is that it's going faster than the researchers themselves, the AI.
Yeah.
So we may be struggling with, say, our data analysis when already tools exist.
Mhm.
So we may have to catch up. We may have to
Yeah.
play catch up. Yeah. So if you can write a proposal, ensure that you are aware that AI is available to you, you may get ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Danai. I don't see any question in the chat, and I don't see any hand raised. Do you have a last word before we say goodbye? I, by the way, hope ask everyone if they can to turn on the microphone or the video, sorry, so that we can take a group pictures if you can. And Dr.
Thank
Danai,
you
you can.
so much. A wonderful presentation.
Okay. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks, Mbadu.
Dr. Danai, do you have a final word while people are opening the camera? I can see Sue.
My final word is that do it afraid. Do it afraid.
Do it afraid.
Yes. When we do whatever we do in research, when we apply for grants, we are actually second guessing ourselves to say, do I qualify? But just do it anyway.
Okay. Do it afraid. I will
You'll
save
be
it.
surprised.
Wow, amazing. Do it afraid. Thank you so much, Dr. Danai, for taking your time, for sharing your experience. Thank you to all those who joined. You are so amazing. This webinars is for you. We hope to empower you. We hope that you learn, that you get the information and knowledge that will help you to become better researchers, because we want you to unleash your full potential and become great researchers so that we are all getting ahead in the world. Thank you so much again for your time. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for Dare to Dream for Africa to come to us. And we will share the slide. Don't worry, we share them. And take care everywhere you are. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
and bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.